Sanalji. Thank you, Sanalji, and thank you, Prakashji. Radhe Radhe. Good morning, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita session. Radhe Radhe, Nitinji, over to you.
Radhe Radhe Pallavi ji, thank you. And thank you, Prakash ji and Sunil Bhai, for a wonderful session, Patanjali Yoga Sutra session, like always. A very warm welcome to all of you to today's edition of Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita. We are going to have a very intriguing, fascinating, enthralling next 60 minutes. I look forward to it every day. So we'll continue on our journey on Shloka 4.23 that we are doing and peel some more layers around it. So very warm welcome to all of you. If you're new to the session, we'd love to know more about you. Please fill in the feedback tracker or feel free to raise your hand and introduce yourself. We'd love to hear from you. Let's get started by invoking the blessings of God and Guru like we always do. So I'm going to share my screen and we shall get underway. Okay, we'll start with our opening prayers. You're welcome to follow it at your place as well. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadguru. Krishnam Vande Jagadguru. Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening, everyone. So, these are the two verses we recite every day. Just to give you a bit of a context, first we offer our obeisance to Guru, our spiritual master, because Guru holds the same pedestal as Brahma, Vishnu and Mahesh. Why? Because Guru is the one who gives us the knowledge, right? That's where he's equated to Brahmaji. Then he maintains that knowledge for us. Just having that knowledge does not help. The conversion of knowledge into wisdom and maintaining it inside you as a realization is something that Guru does. And that is where he's equated to Vishnuji. And then Guru also dispels ignorance. And that is why he's equated to Lord Shiva, because Lord Shiva, he does the job of an annihilation and he annihilates the ignorance within us. And ignorance is the root cause of all the human ailments. All the problems that we face in our life is born out of ignorance. Ajnanam evasya mool karanam. So the day ignorance is removed, problems are solved. In fact, the problems we will be able to, as we progress on this journey, we'll be able to look at the problems in perspective as well. That is how empowering this knowledge is. And then, of course, we recite shloka for Lord Krishna, who is the original Jagat Guru. He's the Guru's Guru, the Mool Guru, so to say. And 5,000 years back, he gave this beautiful song of God that we are relishing every day. So we pay our obeisance to Lord Krishna so that he graces us. In fact, reading Bhagavad Gita is like conversing with Krishna, directly conversing with Krishna. That is how powerful it is. So let's get started with our shloka and our discussion for today. I will recite it. I think this is going to be the concluding session for this shloka. So for one more time, you're welcome to follow along. Gata sangasya muktasya jnanavasthita chetasaha yagyaya charata karma samagram praviliyate. Okay, let's take a few hands.
Radhe Radhe. Gat sangasya muktasya jnanavasthita chetasaha yagyaya charatah karma samagram praviliyate.
Very nice. Thank you, Sandhya. Who's next?
Suri Prakashji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, Nitinji. Gata sangasya muktasya ज्ञानावस्थितचेतसः यज्ञायाचरतः कर्म समग्रं प्रविलीयते.
Nice, thank you.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Okay, maybe we can pick up, we can freeze the
Rahul
hand.
ji,
Let's
yeah,
start.
Rahul ji,
Okay,
Radhe
Rahul.
Radhe, please go.
राधे राधे गत संगस्य मुक्तस्य ज्ञानावस्थित चेतसा यज्ञायाचरतः कर्म समग्रं प्रविलीयते. राधे राधे.
Radhe, thank you, Rahul.
Uday Kumar ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe.
राधे गत संगस्य मुक्तस्य ज्ञानावस्थितचेतसः यज्ञाय आचरतः कर्म समग्रं प्रविलीयते. राधे राधे.
Radhe, very nice, thank you. Udaji.
Dinesh ji, Radhe Radhe, please go
Hi,
ahead.
Dinesh ji.
राधे राधे गतसङ्गस्य मुक्तस्य ज्ञानावस्थितचेतसः यज्ञायाचरत कर्म समग्रं प्रविलीयते. राधे
Thank you,
राधे.
Dinesh ji, very nice. Radhe Radhe.
Sam ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Thank you.
Radhe Radhe. Gat Sangasya Muktasya Jnanavasthita Chetasaha Yagyaya Chatha Karma Smagram Prabliyate. Radhe
Nice.
Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Okay, we have, let's freeze the number of hands. We can quickly cover those and then we'll get started.
Shyam ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Shyam ji.
राधे राधे गत संगस्य मुक्तस्य ज्ञानावस्थि चेतसः यज्ञचरतः कर्म समग्रं प्रविलीयते. राधे
Thank
राधे.
you. I would encourage all the participants to, look at this and recite it. It will not take long before you'll start getting comfortable with the recitation, right? So initially, these words may seem very complicated to follow, but it'll happen very quickly if you keep on doing that. And it's very auspicious to recite these shlokas, even though you might not be raising the hands, but I'd encourage all of you to keep following it. It's on the screen and recite it as best as you can with your mute on, of course. Yes. Let's take the last three hands.
Riya ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, Riya ji.
Thank you. Radhe Radhe. Gata sangasya muktasya ध्यानावस्थित चेतसः यज्ञायाचरतः कर्म समग्रं प्रविलीयते.
Wonderful. Thank you. Last two hands. Thank you, Riya ji.
Thank you, Riya ji. Ragi ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe.
Gata sangasya muktasya ज्ञानावस्थित चेतसः यज्ञाया चरता कर्म समग्रं प्रविलीयते.
Thank you, Pravi ji. Last but not the least, Aparna ji, please go ahead.
Aparna ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe everyone. Gata sangasya muktasya jnanavasthita chetasaha yagyaya charatah karma samagram praviliyate.
Very nice. Thank you, Aparna ji. So let's get started. Lord Krishna is saying they are released from the bondage of material attachment and their intellect is established in divine knowledge. Since they perform all actions as a sacrifice to God, they are freed from all karmic reactions. So these are the concepts he's pretty much summarized in this verse, all the concepts that we've been talking about, right, starting with 4.18. So let's move further and start with our soul soup segment. Let's look at it. What do we have for our appetizer? Okay, so there's a beautiful quotation here. Let's talk about some of the experience or the emotions that we go through. What do they teach us? It's an opportunity. So we look at emotion and the teaching. Okay, this is something that needs to be reframed in our head. When we fear emotion of annoyance, we all feel that, right? There's hardly anybody who doesn't feel annoyed over something. What it is teaching us is actually patience. Okay. The emotion of sense of abandonment. People feel abandoned in their life. I am all alone. Basically, the message is to stand up on your feet. Learn to stand up on your feet. And you have a message of anger. When you feel anger, basically it's an indication of that you need to work on your forgiveness and compassion. The emotion of power over you. There are people who try to dominate you where you feel you have absolutely no power. That's where you need to know how to stand up for yourself and gain that power back, right? Taking the power back. How do you take that power back? Typically, people who exercise power over you, there are two things. First, you are letting them. Second is they hold the keys. You have distributed your keys of your happiness or the state of your well-being to people around, situations around, circumstances around. So how to reclaim those keys is what Lord Krishna is telling us through different shlokas, through different perspectives, how to take that back. Hate, when you feel hate, basically unconditional love, right? God is basically unconditional love, and you do that, hate has no place for it at that point, right? Then fear is overcome fear. Fear, basically, if you look at FEAR, it's like face everything and rise, as opposed to getting paralyzed. And lack of control, basically, it's let go. Immediate freedom comes when you let go, both in letter and spirit. So each of the emotions actually is teaching us something, provided we are willing to learn that and look at that particular thing in proper perspective. So any of the emotions, if it is dominant in your life, it may be good time to reflect upon it and see how can I get out of it through the lesson, so that I'm bigger, better, and stronger coming out of that experience, as opposed to becoming more vulnerable, more weak, and deepening my negative or lower energy or those sanskars, which are not going to be helpful anyway in long run for me. Okay, so we need to look at these emotions in perspective and see what is the lesson around that. Okay, very contextual, very subjective, depending upon the situation, but we need to focus on the solution as opposed to the problem. So Amiji keeps on reiterating this aspect. Let's have a solution-oriented mindset. When we are in trouble, when we are in some kind of a problem, let's look at the solution rather than letting that problem play on our mind and paralyzing us with stress and a lot of other emotions. Let's look at the solution aspect of what can I do in this situation? And then things will fall in place, right? Need to have faith, put in our effort, look at the solution and work towards it. That's a better approach, and it's pleasing to God as well. Okay, now let's move on. The spiritual trajectory, we spoke about it briefly. It is a typical one. Okay, now don't take it as sacrosanct or kind of a thing, because there are a lot of flavors that can happen from any stage to any stage. But this is a typical thing a lot of people can relate to, right? It doesn't mean that when you are in plateau, you can again not have a surge of emotion again, or maybe a complete dip, or maybe a flattening out. Anything is possible at any stage. But this is a kind of a typical thing a lot of people can relate to. That's what we spoke about yesterday. The two key takeaways for me is, one is the phase when you have a dip in enthusiasm. Okay, that is something with mindful contemplation and concerted effort, we can sail through that. Okay, but we should not let that stage prolong for too long, because everything is temporary. Our bad sanskars also come, they also go away. It's not that it's going to be a permanent thing, but we should not let the fuel of inspiration die down during that time. In fact, we need to work harder. That's a key thing. When the enthusiasm is dipping, don't wait. Okay, if you keep on waiting, it may fritter away. Okay, that may be a test God has posed in front of you, so don't let that happen. And second is the spiritual spark. If the curve remains flat, where we keep on waiting for the right moment to jump into seva, to intensify our sadhana or take the next step, that is another pitfall that we need to guard against, because it is very unfortunate if it happens, because we are happy, content in what we are doing, and we don't take that next leap. Then it's a kind of a wasted opportunity as well. Opportunity cost, like they say in management as well, right? All right, now let's move on. So what is 3D consciousness? Sure, some of you would have worn these 3D glasses. 3D consciousness we need to build, we'll talk about. Now 3D, don't think I'm going to add a lot of dimensions here. 3D, 3D, there are 3Ds we are going to talk about today. Okay, not a big deal. So let's talk about it. The first is being dutiful. See, being dutiful is beautiful, is being beautiful. So that is your duty we have to perform, right? Beautiful. The second one is devotional. We need to have this D in our life as well. And the third is called detach, the detachment. These three things are needed actually for us, as a devotee. All these three things have to be kept in our mind. You have to perform your duties. There's no looking away from them, right? Whatever that duty is, whether you are in a householder life, whether as a professional, if you have to take care of people around you, whatever it is, right? The duties have to be performed. There's no looking back from that. However, Lord gives us you the signs to perform that duty. You have to perform that duty, responsibly, because those duties are given to you by God, not with a sense of attachment. Oh my God, they are mine, and I'm the sole, what do you call that, proprietor of all these things. Not necessarily. Before they are our relatives, they are God's kids, right? So God has a plan for everyone. You do your best. Do not take that story too far in your head. So perform your duty to the best of your ability, leave results to God. That is the key. We need to be devotional as well, where we need to build that consciousness of incorporating God in our life, in anything and everything that we do, whether it is related to work, we call it Karam Yoga, and then taking out separate time, 1/10 of our time, right? That is the deal we struck with God when we were in mother's womb, that in this human life, I'm going to devote 1/10 of my time, 1/10 of my wealth for you. But after coming back to this, existence, we keep on forgetting that. We forget that because the impressions of our current life and everything fall upon us, and we can completely forget that. So if you look at it, ideally, we should be spending about 2.4 hours every day. But if that is not possible because of our practical life, traffic and all that stuff, at least, God discounts that, and we should look at 30 to 40 minutes or 1 hour of meditation, or spending that one-on-one time with your Ishtadev. That is actually required as part of being given this opportunity to become a human. If you don't do that, we are flittering away. Then again, what will happen is there are two aspects to our personality. There's a higher self of ourselves, higher energies that we have, and then there's a lower self that we have. So then the lower self will be predominant in our life, which will lead us to anxiety, worries, and all those kind of emotions that none of us want to be implicated in for a longer period of time. Yes, Sandhya, you had a question. And the third is detached. Detachment is needed. Yes, go ahead.
There's a question in the chat from Shweta ji. Devotion, please explain devotional towards what?
Devotion towards what? Devotion is always towards God only. Right? Now, if we are, see, devotion is something where your heart is. Okay, it's very simple. So, for example, if your kid is not well, you go to a doctor. You go to a doctor, show him to a doctor, listen to the doctor, doctor writes a medicine. You take that medicine to the chemist, you get the medicine. So you're following the instruction of doctor very carefully and very clearly. Are you doing devotion to the doctor? No, you're doing devotion to your kid. So similarly, where our heart is where the devotion is. We do devotion. All of us are aware of what is devotion. Our devotion is restricted to our family, immediate, near and dear one. There are typically few people we find in every life, right? It could be our parents, it could be spouse, it could be our kid, which is fine. That is needed as well because we need to take care of them. But the devotion aspect, when we talk about, from a devotee, from a spiritual standpoint, it has to be building that relationship with God, or having in that consciousness in whatever we do. End of the day, he's giving us that opportunity, right? So not forgetting that big picture around it. Why am I working? Who am I working for? So who is the doer? If I'm given the talents, how should I put it to, what best use I can put these talents to, so that I'm serving God. These are the concepts I think we need to consciously contemplate upon and include it in our life, day-to-day life. That is called devotion. And devotion also means serving God. Now, how would you serve God? God is not right in front of you, right? How would you serve God? Serving God basically means aligning to first the teachings. Like if Lord Krishna is telling certain concept, if we align to that, that is also a service to God. He's very happy, extremely happy. Secondly, following your guru's instructions, because guru, a God realized guru, is a representative of God. That is what our scriptures say. So if you align to there and you do work for them, that is also serving God. Our scriptures say that very clearly, right? So if you're doing seva, where you're not getting anything in return, you're giving your time, that is very, very fulfilling. People who do that, they can tell through their experience how fulfilling it is. So that is also a way of expressing devotion. And then the ekant devotion that you do, where you have a one-on-one with God, you're just thinking about your Ishtadev in your time, immersing in that thought. It could be a virabhav, it could be a devotional sentiment, it could be thinking about their leelas, pastimes, glories, gunas, whatever, or the graces that we have received from them. That time is also called devotion. So it can manifest in different ways. And third is detached. Now, detachment means we need a bit of a vairagya, right? So people who have in the advanced stage of vairagya towards this world, they typically are jnanis, and they are a bit neeras as well. People who come in bhakti, they have vairagya and they have attachment to world as well, right? So in this particular case, detachment, let's understand detachment in a proper perspective. So you don't have to minus anything, right? If you simply plus in your life, you attach your mind to God, detachment is a natural consequence of your attachment to God. So if you're 10% attached to God, then you're 10% automatically detached to the world. Your 10% anger, greed, envy, anxiety, worry has already reduced. If you're 20%, 20% has reduced. If you're 30%, you're 30% vairagya you will experience from God. And when it is 100%, the job is done, right? So we need to basically, if you look at it in Bhagavad Gita, all three are saying, right? Karmanyavadhikaraste, it talks about being dutiful. Then Nitya Abhiyuktanam, it's a devotional aspect of it. Ma Phaleshu Kadachan, detached to the fruits of your action. Now, if you're putting in your action, that doesn't mean you will always get a favorable result. So when you detach yourself from the result and just focus on your effort with an understanding that whatever result comes my way, that is prasad of God for me, that is pleasing to God, then you are cleansing your antakaran and getting closer to that, peace that we are all seeking, through different actions that we perform in life. The irony is that all of our endeavors are to gain peace and that happiness and that tranquility that all of us need. But the more harder we work towards it, the further away we keep going away from it, because the equation we have not understood, because it's our attachment, the focus on the result, and thinking of ourselves as the doer and the enjoyer of our efforts. That is what brings in all these, worries, anxieties, and going further away from the peace and bliss. So what it needs is, Swamiji has explained this concept in one of his lectures. I really like, we have to create a divine vacuum. You see the hand pump, you keep pressing it, pressing it, pressing it. And then when the vacuum is created, finally the water starts coming out. So the the practice that we are doing here, listening to the knowledge, contemplating upon it, thinking about God, is essentially creating that vacuum. And when the detachment has reached a certain level, that vacuum is created automatically. God, he will start manifesting, he'll start giving you abhas of his presence and stuff like that. This is how it goes. So we need to focus on creating that vacuum, and it's just a matter of time before the water starts flowing out. Okay. It is explained in great details in Narad Bhakti Darshan, Bhagavatam, and all scriptures have told us, multiple saints have told us. So we need to have faith on their words to be able to follow the process and see the results. Problem happens, we are not even able to, have a trust on the words of saints, and we think it's all hocus pocus. We are not even willing to take the first step to even try out what it means. But only when we try out, one step will lead to another, the another will lead to another. And then finally, you start experiencing it, and the proof is in the pudding, where your own experience will tell you, something is happening which I never experienced in the material world. This is how it goes. So we need nishtha, faith we need, and of course enthusiasm, that it is important for me, for my own self-interest, not for somebody else. We really need to be selfish in true sense, right? We are right now selfish, thinking of ourselves as a body, but when we truly become selfish, knowing that we are actually divine soul, the purpose will be served. like Maharaj Ji has said, right? Joi Swarat, Joi Jan, Dhanya Soi. Person who truly understands where his self-interest is going to get fulfilled is a blessed one. We all are selfish, we'll continue to be selfish. There's nothing wrong in that. But the problem is we are selfish, thinking of ourselves as a body, mind, intellect complex, and that is where the whole equation has gotten messed up, right? It's like trying to solve a complex equation of life where the ultimate aim is to seek happiness, but the very first step we made that mistake of thinking ourselves as a body. So 2 + 2 is equal to 5. Now we are proceeding with the rest of the equation, but it's never going to get solved, right? So that is how it's meant to be. So we need to focus on these 3 Ds. Now let's move on. So this is the concept, right? I spoke about now these 3 guys who are working lifting stones. A guy comes, he's saying, hello there, what are you making? What's going on here? So the first guy says, I'm placing a brick, can't you see? The second guy says, I'm making a wall. Okay, he has a slightly bigger picture. Third is saying, I'm making a temple for Krishna, right? So all 3 are lifting the brick, but the way they approach this is completely different. So dutiful, but not very thoughtful about the purpose. The first one, he's doing his duty, that's perfect, but he's not very thoughtful about it, doesn't have the big picture around it. Second one is aware of the immediate purpose, but not the ultimate contribution. And the third one is dutiful and thoughtful of the immediate and ultimate purpose of what he's doing. So that ultimate purpose, that consciousness has to be clear. If you are just 1 or 2, typically that's how we spend our life. When we are working, if you ask why are you working, it will either fall into 1 or 2 categories. But when you have the bigger picture, you are doing it. God has given you the talents. Now you can utilize those talents to earn. And when you earn, you can give. And the more you earn, the more you can give. And when you put your talents to good use, you can utilize it for seva as well. And that will be very pleasing to God if I end up realizing my true potential and in the process help, do some seva for God as well. Or in the process may help other people as well, come or benefit from this process itself. So when you have the big picture in mind, then it becomes karma yoga. Otherwise, it is limited to for your self-enjoyment only. You end up doing binding karmas and you keep on, getting oscillating in all those emotions that all of us get tired with, right? Our mind will keep us embroiled in all those emotions. There'll be stress, there'll be worries and all that stuff. And when you are doing it purely with the purpose of doing your duty to the best of your ability for the pleasure of God, you see other things start aligning around it. Then you are like, okay, God, whatever the case may be. Narsi Mehta, his entire family was burnt. You're all right, God, maybe that was your design, that was your wish. Now I don't have to worry about anything, no bondages whatsoever, and I can focus, dedicate my entire time to you. That was his perspective. Can anybody imagine that? So that is where when we start purifying our intention and start thinking of the big picture around our own existence, why are we here? Then things start falling in place. Yes, Pallaviji, got a question?
Yes, Nitinji. The question is from Subhashji.
Mhm.
The question is related to the hand pump example that you were giving
Mhm.
for the devotion. So his question is how to create that divine vacuum to fill in with devotion.
How to create that divine vacuum. So it's like where I am right now and where I need to be, right? That gap should trouble us a little bit, right? And when it becomes intolerable, then God will appear. But at least there should be a sense of dissatisfaction there to create that vacuum. If we are satisfied in our life dealing with the problems and thinking this is how life is supposed to be, then that vacuum will not come. But that will come when you will first question, what is the purpose of my life? Have I come here just to pay my EMIs, take care of people around, take care of my eating and sleeping and, just doing my responsibility towards others and one day walk away from this world? Then that will not come. Then it's like you are like that rat in a box. The box is open, but rat is still oscillating within the box to see where I'm going to get cheese or where I will get the electric shock, right? That experiment that we spoke about. So when you start thinking about the bigger questions in life, okay, not just limited to your day-to-day life, then that vacuum, you have already set the stone for that vacuum. Okay. And then you feel that, there's so much of work that I need to do, and it is only for my benefit. And then as you start increasing that emotion through your contemplation, through proper knowledge, when you come in contact with proper knowledge, then one day the stage will come, then that gap will become intolerable. And when it becomes intolerable, God will manifest. Right now, it's not intolerable, it is tolerable. It's well within our tolerance limits, and we are taking it at our own pace. Then God will appear. And also that vacuum is, how will the vacuum gets created? Let's understand the physics behind it as well, right? Vacuum means the space is created that needs to be filled in. Even when the rain comes, the air is hot air, it rises up and it creates a vacuum, and which sucks in humidity. So this vacuum is of detachment. Our heart needs something, right? This chit or this heart needs some kind of an attachment to somebody. That is how chit is designed. So when it is filled with world, obviously you'll not feel that vacuum, right? That vacuum is, you'll not feel. Do you think this world is going to fill in that, right? Although you're not getting the satiation, but you don't have a better plan in place, right? There's no plan B in life. But when you start creating that detachment with an understanding that these people are not going to accompany in my afterlife, nobody can accompany me. After that, the journey is all alone mine. And the only person who will accompany me in afterlife is God and Guru. Nobody else. God realized Guru and God. Then you start seeking, okay, I need to meet God now. Okay. He's my eternal parent and I need to meet my divine father. It's like a long lost father. If a child comes to know he was a foster child and somebody tells him, you know what, you have come to know about your real biological father. And just think of the anticipation that kid is having to meet his real father. That anticipation, how did that anticipation come? By understanding that was my father. Now there's a relation, you've understood there's a deep relationship I have. So that anticipation, that vyakulta, the vacuum is already created. Oh my God, when am I going to meet him, see him with my eyes and maybe hug him? So same thing will happen when you start understanding your relationship with God, right? When you think about your divine father who has been waiting for you, but we are too busy holding on to our unworthiness and playing this ghar ghar game, lifetime, life to lifetime. So when that feeling will intensify, you'll start feeling that vacuum as well. And that's what happens with sages and saints and people who start, progressing or reach higher stage of devotion. They start feeling that vacuum. It's like, I cannot tolerate this anymore. I just need to meet him, see him, kind of a deal. So I hope I answered your question. It was a long answer to your short question, but hope
Very beautifully answered. Thank you, Nitinji.
Okay. So in this example, they all look beautiful, but their awareness and the consciousness is different. That is the key here. You see, the act is the same, but why you're doing it, what is the consciousness you're carrying, that matters. And that will also determine, are you cleaning your mind? Are you purifying it? Are you getting closer to God? Or are you further entrenching yourself in the world? And that consciousness will not be clear unless you have gotten proper foundational knowledge around it. Because when we are not clear about the why of what needs to be done, you will not be able to bring in that intensity. It will seem hocus pocus, maybe not, right? So it's very important to have that fundamental foundational knowledge really clarified, so that you can approach it with enthusiasm and very lot of conviction that, what I'm doing is actually right and it is going to work. And then of course you will start reaping the benefits of it, and then it will reinforce your faith around that as well. Now let's move on. What are the principles to be followed on the path of devotion? First is, we wait for God's grace. Okay, we cannot say, you know what, I have been doing Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, or Jai Mata Di, or Om Namah Shivaya, or Jai Siya Ram for so long. I've been chanting for so long. I have done so many jobs. Why is God not gracing me? Okay, that is not. You wait for it patiently. God knows. We have to trust his intellect. He knows exactly when to grace you. Okay, so we wait for it patiently. We cannot say, I have done so much and still you're not giving me darshan and this and that, right? We quietly wait for it. That is how it's meant to be. The second one is, You immerse your mind, body, and speech in God. Now, these are all advanced concepts, of course, but we start building, right? Karma Yoga is an idea where you start building that consciousness through your mind, body, and speech. The problem is that we are actually immersed in, you see this boat? The boat is in water. The problem is not in the, boat being in water. The problem happens when the water gets into the boat, right? It reminds me of a joke. There was a guy, two guys who were sitting. He said, "What will you do if there's a hole in your boat?" He said, "Very simple. I'll dig another hole in the boat." He said, "Why?" Because he said the water will come from one and go from another. It doesn't work that way. So the problem happens when the water comes inside the boat. So similarly, the problem is not in the world. You can be in the world and yet be detached from it. Right? So it's like the boat is able to navigate the water because it's not letting the water come inside it. But the problem with us is we are letting all the water come inside us. There was a beautiful orchestra playing. How when the orchestra plays so many things, they work in cohesion and it produces such a beautiful sounds. Every instrument has a place in that orchestra. So there was a beautiful melodious orchestra that was playing. And at the corner of the room, there was a carpenter who was doing thuk, thuk, thuk. Okay. So when they were playing, this guy was doing thuk, thuk, thuk. So they would look back at him. He'll also stare back at him. And then again, he'll again start doing thuk, thuk, thuk. They'll again exchange glances. Third time also it happened. Then finally, the carpenter broke his silence. He said, "It's okay. You are not disturbing me. Continue to play." Now, who's disturbing whom? So similarly, the world is not disturbing us. We are letting the world come inside us. Okay. So that is the concept to be understood. So because we are immersed in the world, we are not able to create that vacuum or space for God. And when we create space for God, then everything that you speak, right? Kayena vacha manasendriyerva. Have you heard that shloka? Karomi yad yad sakalam parasme narayanaeti samarpyami. So with your thought, body, speech, mind, it's like the only thing that you can think about is glorify God, work for God, and your mind is immersed in God. That is an advanced stage, but stepping stone to that is start building it through Karma Yoga. Start increasing the frequency of your practice in your day-to-day life. You don't have to leave anything. You continue doing the same thing. But the consciousness behind that, leaving the results, becoming detached to the fruit of your actions, right? Having a prasad buddhi, no complaints. Okay, did I say about complaints? Okay, that is the third one, by the way. Third one is no complaints. So when you do all these things, then it's pleasing to God. We are automatically going to draw more and more of His grace. Complaints is the biggest problem. We whine in our head. We play the victim card in our mind. Why it is happening to me? Everything is bad with me. God says just have prasad buddhi around everything. There's a reason why something is happening. Okay, reason could be one, it could be God chiseling you because He wants to make you beautiful, right? And second is, it could be the karmic thing. We are only inviting our own baggage, right? But even when it is a karmic thing, God does it in such a way that it works to our advantage. Okay, he packages those miseries in a manner so that it chisels us, and finally we end up becoming better version of ourselves, as long as we have the right perspective. What is the hardest thing in this world? What is the most sparkling thing in this world? What is the most beautiful thing? I mean, people say, right? At least in gemstones, it is diamond. And what is diamond? Diamond is nothing but a coal who has been able to withstand intense pressure for an extended period of time. So coal would remain a coal if it did not have the ability to withstand that intense pressure for an intense period of time. And that is how it becomes diamond. And diamond is the hardest thing in the world, right? And it becomes diamond, otherwise it would have remained coal. So pressure situations, anxious situations actually can actually fast track, accelerate our spiritual growth, provided we look at it in the right perspective and not whine or complain in our head around it. Okay, that complain aspect, let's say goodbye to that. Have a prasad buddhi around whatever is happening for a reason. So why me? Instead of asking God, why me? We should ask, why not me? That is the right attitude for a devotee. Easier said than done, but with concerted effort, we can make it happen. Okay, world is not going to fall apart around us. So we need to have that faith and see how we can channelize opportunities, hardships, reversals, and demanding situations around us to our advantage. And it is the chiseling God is doing. And when God chisels, then a marble gets converted into a beautiful deity. And same thing will happen with us as well. We need to have a firm faith around it. Right? In long term, nobody is going to come out of it alive anyways. So why not take on this opportunity and work on ourselves, right? Inner growth, like let's make it a priority and take on whatever comes in our life. So we can approach any adversity with a solution-oriented approach and with a firm faith that God has a plan for me and I'll leave it to Him. End of the day, I'm His responsibility. Why to take the entire burden on my head, right? My kids, my family, my spouse, my parents are God's kids first. They became my, sometime later. So let Him worry about them as well. I'm going to do my best in this particular situation and leave it to God the rest. Okay, let's take a few questions and before I move further. And I've been talking a lot today, but we have time.
Radhe Radhe Nitinji, the question is in the chat from Rameshji. Can we please give examples for karmic reactions that work for our advantage?
Karmic reactions, when I say, see, if we are having some kind of a difficult situation in our life, right? It could come in any form, right? It could be a medical condition, it could be a family situation, it could be some kind of a financial stress. It could come in any way, right? Now, God is basically, He picks up those our prarabdha in such a way that when it comes, you can actually come out of it better and stronger. Now, only if you look at that particular situation, like Helen Keller, I'm telling you, this lady, go look it up in Google, she was born, I believe, blind and deaf. She was born blind and deaf, and because of which she could not even learn her speaking skills as well until she got a mentor who basically could make her feel water, and then she could verbalize it, what it means, and that's how she picked up. Now just imagine somebody being born with such a handicap in life. But look at some of his testimonials, what all she went on to do. She created so many things for people who are physically handicapped. And it said, life is such a beautiful gift. She made so much of her life despite her handicaps. And on the other hand, we have everything and we start complaining and whining about things where we have an opportunity, right, to do. There's a story about Viktor Frankl. He was in Nazi concentration camp. When he was put in that camp, they were tortured like anything, right? Concentration camps, what happened. He was made to walk naked during the nights, and he was not even sure that whether he will see the next day of the light, next day's light itself or not. And when he was in the concentration camp, he got the news that his daughter, wife, family, and brother, I think they have been slayed and killed as well. That's the news he got. But in that darkest hour, he realized one thing. That one thing was, nobody has the ability to snatch away your freedom or your choice to choose happiness. Now just imagine the state of mind of that guy in such kind of an adversity. Who can snatch away your happiness from you? Nobody can. You have the right to your happiness. And then he was able to, with that mindset, he was able to not only survive that ordeal. Most of the people are morally down. They will become depressed and die. But he was able to survive that ordeal. He came out. And then he went on to write a lot of books. I think I forgot the name of the book. And then he used to be a guest speaker at a lot of places. He became a very successful author afterwards, right? He gave a lot of inputs to the modern psychology as well. And that is what he made out of his life. He did not have anything going for him as well. So it is our attitude to the situation that we bring to the fold that will determine whether we come out of that situation better or worse. And even if you look at nature also, right, like in Maharaj's bhajan, he says, "Ab aur adhik chamkega sona, puni puni agni tapane ko." So even the gold, it becomes, it shines forth when it goes through the test of fire. So we really need to look at the situation in perspective, and every situation that comes around us in our life is invariably going to teach us something, provided we can look at it. This guy, Steve Jobs said the best thing that happened to him in his life was getting fired from his own company. It was a public humiliation for him, right? But he said that was the best thing. It happened in hindsight when he was connecting the dot. You can look up his speech in the Stanford. So it really depends on how you look at it. And even if you look at it, your life, right? We have done this exercise. Some of the low points of your life, you'll be thankful for that, because it has chiseled the personality that you are today and made us what we are today. I mean, I can personally tell you tons of examples from my life where I was disappointed at that point in life. But now when I look at it in hindsight, I thought that was probably the best thing that happened to me. Otherwise, things could have been different. Yes, Monica ji.
Yeah, thank
Any
you,
other
Nitin.
questions?
Yeah, Monica ji, Radhe Radhe.
And
Please
then let me finish it and then we'll conclude the discussion. When we do all this, then we get our true inheritance. And our true inheritance as a soul, what we end up getting, people ask what is going to happen. It's a big deal. Big deal is that you are going to get Satchitanand, eternal happiness, eternal knowledge, eternity, right? Do you see the treasure chest that God is waiting? He's going to give it to us when we are eligible, like a father gives it to his son when the son is ready. Otherwise, son will get spoiled and waste that money, right? And this is the treasure chest that you're waiting. I think it will look attractive to you now. You see this treasure chest? Yeah, it's opening up. And this is what you'll end up getting finally. Does it look nice? It does, right? Okay. So, okay, yes. Now let's take a few questions and then I'll pose a question as well to you.
Yes, thank you for waiting. Radhe Radhe, Monica ji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. So Nitinji, as we all are work in progress, and then you notice as a person, you notice a lot of changes in yourself, and then when you're in this spiritual journey. So a new development is started happening in me. I just wanted to maybe get your stand that this is okay, or maybe this could benefit the class also. But then it's been happening since quite some time now. So it's not that something is new. So when you talk to people who would otherwise make you angry or irritate you or something, nowadays the feeling is pity on them, that they're still there. They should rise, or they should learn more about, attend Bhagavad Gita or something like that, right? Get more clarity. So is this feeling out of pride, or am I actually becoming somebody good, or am I progressing in my spiritual path?
So yeah, I would replace pity with compassion. Okay, pity is actually a lower end.
Better word actually, compassion only. I did not pity. Compassion, yes.
Pity is more about a bit of a pride, right? And it's more of a compassion kind of a thing, that you are so close to something that can open up a treasure chest for you, and still you are so far, right? So that feeling is fine out of compassion, but that needs to be supplemented with another understanding that everybody is perfectly situated there where they need to be. So you cannot be too hard thinking about this thing, what I need to get them, and somehow you do that part as best as you can with an understanding that they may have they may not even be ready for that as yet, right? You can take a glass to water but cannot make it drink. So as long as it does not affect you, if they don't come, you're fine. So don't lose that sight that everybody is perfectly situated where they need to be. They may have to learn certain lessons before these doors will start opening up for them in their mind, right? But yeah, but if we try and we have influence like you have, right? You have gotten so many people here, including your sisters. Go ahead and do that, exert that, and it may work, right? But with an understanding that everybody have their own journey, and there's beyond the point we have to let go of it as well. But so far your hit ratio has been pretty good, so go for it. But yeah, replace pity with compassion. Okay.
Sure. Okay. Thank you, Radhe Radhe.
Because we should not fall into that pride that I am superior, I'm doing something. That should not be, because we never know that person, when he takes on to the spirituality, they may leapfrog you 10 times more. We don't know that, right? And they may have very solid sanskars. It's just a matter of time before they pick it up. So we look at it like, okay, maybe there's an opportunity for me to help somebody with the humility that it may not even work, right? They may not even be ready for it. Keep that knowledge at the back of you. That'll keep it grounded, your emotion also.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Thank you for asking that. Okay. So, yes, Annapurna ji, you wanted to ask, or is there any other question?
Yeah, Annapurna ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Yeah, Nitinji was giving an example of Viktor Frankl, his life, what happened, and in the concentration camp. I remember the book that Man's Search for Meaning.
Man's Search for Meaning in Life. Yeah, very true. Thank you for calling that out.
Yeah, so I just raised my hand.
Thank you, Annapurna ji, for sharing that. By the way, Annapurna ji is one of our participants who participates in Kahoot even from hospital. Okay, that is how enthusiastic she is. By the way, tomorrow is Kahoot evening, so please do revise your concepts and be ready for tomorrow's session. And don't miss out this Sunday session, Sunday evening, Monday morning. We are going to talk about Radha Tattva. Okay, and you can put in your registries feedback tracker if you want to participate in bhajans or anything, and then we'll figure out a way. Because let's make it. We will go through that concept of Radha Tattva and a lot of philosophy behind it, which a lot of you would be interested to know about, and we'll clear some of the misconceptions about Radha Krishna and Shakti Shaktiman and all that deeper philosophy around this concept. So we'll talk about that. Okay, any more questions? Okay, I'm going to pose a question if nobody has a question. Okay, either you ask a question or I ask a question. Okay, so question game now. So happiness is what, right, the world is after. We all are after the happiness. So equation for happiness is number of fulfilled desires divided by number of unfulfilled desires. Okay, kind of one of the many equations. There's another way of putting that as well. But yeah, if we typically equate this to how many desires we fulfill and how many were unfulfilled, and based on that quotient, we think how happy we are, right? That is how typically the material consciousness goes, right? Now, if you go with Buddhism, they say finish off the desire, make it zero, numerator is zero, maths, right? If numerator becomes zero, everything is zero, right? Mathematically. So you finish off the desire, and then there's no point of that, right? Now happiness becomes zero in that case, or you. So now making zero, or is there a better alternative, is what I'm going to ask. Basically, fulfill desires. When you talk about that, can you make it this fulfilled desire zero, or is there a better alternative? Because this better alternative, if there is one, I think it demands a bit of a discussion before we wrap up today's session. Would be a good segue to the next session. Yes, a lot of hands have already been raised. Okay, guys, you guys are more than ready for the quiz, I guess. Yes, Preeti ji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, Preeti ji, please go ahead.
Yes. Radhe Radhe Nitinji, Radhe Radhe everyone. A beautiful session. The graphs are always very meaningful, impressive, and long lasting. And so is this cute little fellow, a happiness fellow. So yes, when we want the numerator in this equation, the numerator to be greater than the denominator, I would say the number of fulfilled desires have to be, no, give me some time. I'll get back in with a better answer. Go ahead with some other participant.
Your maths got messed up a little bit. Huh?
Yes, you're right.
No worries. All right.
Yeah, but then, okay, I'll finish it off so then you don't have to get back to me.
No worries.
So, yeah, we dovetail our desires to something which is desirable, like God, like doing good things in life. And of course, the three Ds that you mentioned. So, in the beginning of the session. So, due to, yeah. So, that way, this happiness guy could be, he would be jumping then. Radhe Radhe.
Very true. You can keep on fulfilling your desires, but our scriptures tell us if you fulfill desire, it is like adding fuel to the fire.
Yes.
Desire will keep on increasing, right? So it's a zero-sum game end of the day. And then desiring is very natural to us, right? We are wired that way. It's like we are driving a bicycle. Now somebody says apply brake. If you apply brake to a bicycle, you will stumble. It will go out of balance. Rather than just change the direction. That's about it. That is the beauty of the path of bhakti. And you rightly pointed out. I think a lot of people have raised their hand. They can add to this. Yes, dovetailing. Just changing the direction. That's all. Yes. Who wants to go next? Go ahead, Sandhya.
Yes. Please go ahead, Sandhya ji.
Radhe Radhe. So yeah, it is basically desiring to serve God. So it is the adjective before desire that matters, whether it is a material desire or whether it is a spiritual desire. So dovetailing makes it spiritual desire. And if our desires are aligned with God's desires, like in the case of surrender, then every desire will be fulfilled, because that's the whole, I think,
बिन
purpose.
मांगे मिले मोती, मांगे मिले ना भीख, right? यही है लाइफ की सबसे बड़ी सीख. Okay, I've just added that. Okay. Yeah, good. That's true. See, it's very difficult. People say, okay, what is dovetail? Dovetailing, yeah, you can actually channelize that. It takes a bit of a practice, but can be done, right? Whatever you are doing, you can dovetail it towards God. God, you have given me this responsibility. I want to do it to the best of my ability. It's like being an employee of a company, right? Whatever job function is given to you, you want to do it well for the sake of the company, for the sake of your boss, for the sake of your CFO, CXO, right? Or CEO. Now, in this case, of course, this is a job function given to you in this life, right? And the people who are around you, they are God's kids only. So if you have to marry somebody, we have to first make their relatives happy. So you cannot expect to meet God when you are not able to treat their relatives well, or, so let's keep that thing at the back of our mind. So everything that we do, we can actually think about doing it to the best of our ability for the sake of God, because God has put us in that position. And when we do it with that consciousness and not with the consciousness, I am going to do it because I am going to be helping people around and I need to be responsible for it. And it will only lead to this stress, basically. That is the consciousness we need to dovetail. Okay, great. Monica ji, go ahead, please. And then Rahul and Pallavi ji. And then we can come to Manoranjan ji.
Yes,
People on video.
yes, Monica ji, please go ahead.
And Pratyush as well. Yeah.
Yes, Radha again. Like everybody said, Nitinji, it's basically attaching everything to Krishna. All your desires. If you're cooking, cook for him. Dressing up, dress for him. And whatever happens with you, whatever reactions you get from people, that is also Krishna's desire. So in the end, when everything is for him, by him, then why worry?
Very true. Why worry? Right? It's a life of freedom in that case, right? Actually, the final stage, which we call it as a surrender, is a state of doing nothing. But in order to reach the stage of doing nothing, we have to do a lot of things until then.
Yes.
Yes, let's hear from Pratyusha, then we'll get to Rahul, Pallavi ji, and then Manoranjan ji and Ajit ji. If you turn on your camera, maybe your chance will come a little sooner. Yes, Pratyusha, go ahead.
Yes, Rahul ji, please go ahead. Radhe, Radhe. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
No, that's okay. Go ahead, Rahul.
Radhe, Radhe. So looking just at the formula, the denominator can be made 0. Yeah. So if we are trying to align our desires to the desires of God and Guru, then that can become closer to 0. So looking at the formula, then happiness will be infinite. Yeah, that is
very true. I'm glad you brought that point. I was going to ask, when it starts approaching 0, the equation becomes infinite, right? It will become infinite happiness at that point. Very nice. Okay, don't ask it in quiz, okay? It will be very confusing for the people. Or by the way, tomorrow we have quiz, again a reminder. Please come. Kahoot is always fun. Yes, Pratyusha.
Yes, Pratyusha ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Hello. My equation will be on the top portion, put it as service, like everything that you do, make it service to God. And then if some of it is still remaining unfulfilled, still you're happy.
True. So we just dovetail it towards God, and that's pretty much it, right? That is what we need to practice more. It automatically becomes Karam Yoga. It automatically takes us to that Satat Yuktanam or Sarveshu Kaleshu state, the Nirantarta. So all the principles that Bhagavad Gita keeps on repeating throughout it's automatically taking us closer to that, right? So end of the day,
like we can just keep putting that, what your intention is. If it keeps towards God, and if you keep doing that, I think God will make more opportunities for you to do that more. So that way it can go to infinity. As long as you want to do it, you can.
Very true, very true. It is no wonder that most of the biggest things that humanity, right, with regards to architecture, poetry, even dance forms, when it is done keeping God in mind, people have actually outdone themselves in their abilities also. Right? Some of the architecture, including all the temples that were built, and even the Roman architecture, they are all directed towards God. Even the dance forms like Kathakali and classical forms, they are a class of its own, and they are all keeping the God in mind, different mudras and all. So when you do that, then even the potential that you have it has no limits at that point. When you start serving God, it's like the seer is going to start empowering you now because you're working for him. Otherwise, humans, you will always end up capping our potential as well. Very true. Thank you, Pratyusha, for that.
Thank you.
Pallavi.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe Nitinji, I was going to reiterate what Rahul ji mentioned. I was trying to make the number of unfulfilled desire to 0. If we make the denominator 0, obviously our happiness will go to infinite.
That will go to infinite. Yeah, there's another way of looking at it. Thank you for sharing that, Pallavi ji. Beautiful.
Yeah, but I have some questions in chat as well, but we'll take some hands over here, then we'll come back to that.
Maybe we can take a question right now.
Okay, so the question is about, if we align our desires with God's desire, how will every desire get fulfilled? That is the question.
How will every get desire? We don't do it with that intention. Okay, that means you have already put the business condition there. Okay, if you are thinking, I'm going to align my desire with God so that my desire gets fulfilled, it's transaction. Okay, God is very smart. He's seated within. He knows, are you doing it selflessly, or are you doing it with some kind of a hidden agenda in mind? Okay, so that is the secret. And that secret, nobody can hide it from God. Now, the point is, God will give us what is beneficial for us, not something which is pleasurable for us. There's a difference between getting something which is pleasurable, which our mind and senses and our dim intellect tells us, or something that is beneficial for us, right? From our spiritual, God will always give you the thing which is beneficial and not the pleasurable thing. Okay, he's a perfect father and he knows what we need. So we got to trust him on that. Yes. Anybody, anything else? Samji, you wanted to add something? Yes, Samji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, like everybody said it, even numerator and denominator, either one of you make it 0, will be infinite. Second thing, dovetail thing, already everybody talked about it. I want to bring the six surrender principle, the first and second one. If you fill in the first one, no desire left. Second one, no, you are not desiring anything against the God's wishes. So the bottom is also kind of 0. So in either case, first two conditions, they fulfill the whole thing, I think.
Yeah, you've done a very nice dissertation of it, Samji. So I think we can create tons of questions around the hypothetical scenarios that are possible if you look at this equation. But yeah, I think you've got valid points. Thank you for pointing that out. Wonderful. Manoranjan ji?
Manoranjan ji, Radhe Radhe.
Are you going to recite the Kabir's Doha today? By the way, before you do that, there was a Hindi saying which said that tu karta wahi hai jo tu chahta hai aur hota wahi hai jo main chahta hu. Tu kar wo jo main chahta hu, fir hoga wahi jo tu chahta hai. Right? Now that doesn't mean
Radhe Radhe.
We make desires and then
Thank
do
you,
it.
Nitin ji. Actually,
Yes,
as
Manoranjan.
expected, I'd like to share one Kabir Doha on today's topic.
Sure.
Since actually what we have learned, that if we do karmas without sacrificing it, or being doing a sacrificial karma, then it will bind us. So Sant Kabir is saying that bande ko to bandhe mile, छूटे कौन उपाय, कर सेवा निर्बंध की, पल में लेंगे छुड़ाए, कबीरा पल में लेंगे छुड़ाए. Kabir is saying that we are actually serving a person actually who is in bondage. So therefore, serving a person who is in bondage will also bind you. So you do a service to a person who is actually liberated. If you do service to a person who is liberated, you choose him as your guru, as your master, he will liberate you within minutes. Thank you.
True, very true. That is why we said the Nirgun Seva is only when you do it for the pleasure of God or you are serving your God realized Guru. That is the only Nirgun Seva. Rest all is binding. Very true. Thank you, Manoranjanji. Okay, so are we good? I wanted to make quick announcements. One is about the Diwali. I cannot overemphasize enough the lights that are going to be flashed in that festival. And it is going to be at a scale which is unfathomable. Okay, so just come over. I'm just building it up for you. So Diwali event is there. We have a YTT yoga going on. Can we do that, or the time is already passed for that? But I'd leave it up to you, Pallavi, for the announcements, and then we can take maybe a question or two before we get into our devotional segment for the day. But yeah, typically we end our session at 10, but we do the devotional segment after that for a few minutes. So you're welcome to stay back. And announcements, let's make the announcements, all the wonderful events that are coming up. So please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Nitinji. I'll take quick moment for announcements. So first major announcement will be the upcoming Radha Astami celebration, which will be on September 24. And I have posted the link in the chat to get more details about it. There will be many beautiful activities planned, and we will learn about Radha Rani's Charan Darshan, Abhishek, Swamiji's divine lecture. Everything will happen during Radha Astami. The second announcement is about the upcoming Ganesh Chaturthi celebration at RKT temple. That is also, we can learn in details about the chat, the link that I have posted in the chat. It will be celebrated through September 18 to 28. So it's going on in the temple. And finally, the gala event, which is the grand Diwali Mela event, which is going to be on November 4th. So the details for the ticket and the link about about the event is also posted in the chat.
Thank you.
So these are the main events. Yeah.
Please post the feedback tracker as well. And by the way, tomorrow we have Kahoot, and tomorrow we have Krishna Leela presentation by Ananya team, selfless team, Shyamji's team. So we're looking forward to that as well. Okay. Very excited to see that tomorrow. Yes, I see two hands. Pallavi, Preeti ji, please go ahead.
Yeah, Preeti ji.
Are you going to sing today, Preeti ji?
Sorry.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. Radhe Radhe. Nitinji, I was just wondering if surrender is equal to liberation, in the sense that when we surrender, there is a kind of vairagya bhav, there is a kind of thinking that I don't need anything more. I have everything that I needed. It's such Chit Ananda kind of feeling. So is surrender similar to is surrender similar to a liberation, that I'm liberated from the world now?
Yeah, basically, it's a good question you're asking. Surrender, it's a good question. I think Swamiji, we should ask this question to him. The way I understand it is, surrender in which bhav, right? You surrender to God. Now you're surrendering with the spirit that I just want to merge with you. Then it becomes liberation. Or you're surrendering with the bhav that, I'm all yours and I just want to serve you, right? In your happiness lies my happiness. Then you will get a service to opportunity to serve him at that point. But surrender has to be 100%.
Yes.
Right. It's not like if you do 50% surrender, then you will see half of Krishna, right? Or 90%, then, pretty much up to this stage, but not the more punk. It has to be 100%. But yeah, in the spirit which you are doing surrender, that is dictated by the sadhana that you have done, right? So when you are practicing your Sharanagat Bhav with God, one way of approaching it is, I just need mukti. I just need to merge with you, God. That's about it, in your effulgence or with you. Second is, I want to be with you. I want to serve you. So if you do that, then you go beyond liberation, which is called Premanand, where God liberation you can get even with God's name, but the opportunity to be in his abode and render him personal service, that is very elite. Okay, very few people get that, and that only those people get who have actually practiced that bhav with him. They want to meet him that way, they want to serve him that way. They only get that opportunity. Others can go up to liberation only. So really the bhav that you have inculcated, surrender is needed regardless, but the bhav in which you have approached it would dictate whether you cap yourself at liberation or you go beyond liberation, because there are possibilities beyond liberation as well, where liberation is a byproduct of it. And you actually get a opportunity to serve God in his personal form and be his eternal associate.
Thank you.
Jyotiji wants to add something. Jyotiji, are you going to sing today? Or you want to add to the discussion?
Radhe Radhe, Jyotiji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. I wanted to answer Preeti ji, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Surrender and mukti are two different things. Surrender is Atma Nivedanam, which is the one of the Navda forms of 9 forms of bhakti. And it is total surrender, like how Bali Maharaj did, where he offered himself to Vaman Dev and said, "Do what you want with me." And at that point, God not only does what he wants, but he does what the devotee wants also. And so to this day, he is living in the nether regions of the world for 4 months and then fulfills the desire of the bhakta to be near him. And when the current world gets annihilated, the next Manu is going to be Bali Maharaj. So the point is that the total surrender, Atma Nivedanam, is like, you can say it's like buttermilk. And, the mukti is like butter. So these are two different byproducts of the same milk or yogurt. They're not the same, even though the person that is doing surrender, yes, he's truly liberated from the universe, but they are not away from the universe. That's my understanding. Radhe Radhe.
I think you brought in a few technicalities, so yeah, we can talk about in detail. So I'm just going by the shloka. If you go by 18.66, right, it says Sarv Dharman Parityajye Mamekam Sharanam Braj. So when Lord Krishna says that Mamekam Sharanam Braj, he says simply surrender unto me. And then what happens when you surrender to God? Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshishyami Mashicha. That I'm going to burn off all your reactions and I'll liberate you. Now, liberate you, I think that's what you were asking, right, Pallaviji? Now, liberations are also of multiple types, Sayujya, Samipya, Salokya, and all that stuff. We'll get into that technicalities like Jyotiji. Thank you for bringing those up. But yeah, the point here is how you approach God. God says, I'm going to meet you the same way. Right? It's not that God, you said that I wanted liberation, and God says, caught you, I had something better for you. He's no. Or, you worshipped God as light and you say, caught you, I actually have a peacock feather. Okay, you didn't know that. He said, I'll meet you the same way as you want. So it really depends what is the spirit you are bringing behind that surrender. He'll meet you exactly the same way. You worship him as light, he'll meet you as light. You worship him as an old man, he'll meet you as an old man. You worship him as somebody, deity with big eyes, he'll meet you as a big eyes. Or you worship as a beautiful blue boy, he'll meet you like that. He'll meet you exactly how you want, meet him. But thank you, Jyoti. I think we should talk about the aspect of liberations also. There are some technicalities there as well, different type of liberations, and how liberation is different from, the higher rasas that are possible. We have spoken about in our session, but we can have another discussion. Thank you for that. Yes, David, are you going to sing today?
Yes, David ji. Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe.
No, I wasn't going to sing. I'm sorry if just for a moment I can bring the attention back to the formula. I only wanted to add that if you think in terms of batch or singular focus, and you put God on top and Maya on the bottom, then you get one, and you get the equilibrium that we are meant to be after, which in the end results in only God. I just wanted to add that there. Thanks
God in the numerator and Maya in the denominator.
Yes. At any moment, we only have two choices all day long. And so the balance is there, actually, in my opinion. Thanks.
Okay, and that's interesting take on that. Maybe we can discuss more on that. Thank you. I think you've been contemplating upon that formula, which is good. Great. So now we move on to our Kumarji wanted to sing today. Jai Shri Ram. Are you going to sing today something?
Radhe Radhe Kumarji, please go
Yeah,
ahead.
Jai Shri Ram. Because I'm a math student, I just want to say this. Anything divided by 0 is infinity, but 0 divided by 0 is undefined.
Undetermined. It's not defined by maths. Yes.
Right. So what we have to do is, when we surrender, everything what God deems is what is our desire as well, right? Basically, we should be satisfied with whatever God gives us, and then which means we'll not have any
True.
You got muted.
Yeah, I got
Yes.
muted.
Sorry.
Happened.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it'll be divided by 0, which will be infinite. So infinite happiness. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kumarji. Okay. So with that, I think we can now finally move on to our devotional segment. Not yet?
Yes.
Laddu, you had a question too?
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead. Not yet. Go ahead.
Himaji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe Pallavi, Radhe Radhe Bhaiya, Radhe Radhe everybody. Sorry Bhaiya, quick question. So Bhaiya, like what Monadi said, we have to do everything for God, like dress up for Krishna, cook for Krishna. But does Mahadev really care what we dress for him as in to be? Would he appreciate that?
No.
He is a Vairagi, right?
Krishna is also not bhogi. He's also completely detached. It's like the sentiment that you are bringing. That is what matters, right? So if you don't feel like, that's perfectly okay. See, even when Krishna would see, now Mahadev is Vairagi, so you don't care, that is fine. But if you are dressing up, then you can dovetail it. That's essentially what the message was. If you don't feel like dressing up, that's perfectly okay. But if you're dressing up, you can dovetail it. Okay, I need to do it for Mahadev, right? That's essentially what it is. If you don't feel like cooking for yourself as well, that's fine. But if you're cooking, you can do that. Okay, I need to prepare it for Mahadev as well. He may relish what I'm going to prepare. That's all it is. It's not compulsory. God is not, it doesn't care basically, right? If that was the case, he would have told Vidurani, treat me with proper bananas. What are you giving me? He looks at the bhav or the sentiment that you bring, not the actual act, actually. That is the key thing.
Makes sense. Thank you, Bhaiya.
Yeah. But so see, we have enthusiasm for a lot of things in life. So the idea is to channelize that enthusiasm and put it in proper place. Right now, we're doing it for ourselves, or maybe to impress people around. Why not do it for the sake of God? Bring that consciousness. That's all. And what will happen because of that is it will make us see our whole endeavor, effort is around looking nice to the world. God says, instead of looking nice, you become nice. How will you become nice? When you dovetail your consciousness towards God. Right? So we have to adorn ourselves with inner what you call adornments or inner jewels as opposed to external jewels. Right? Our focus is to decorate ourselves externally. God is more interested in seeing your internal decoration. Now you have to sing a bhajan, okay, Radhu? I'm going to make you nervous because you have got long nails today, but yeah, Sandhya, go ahead in the meantime.
Radhe Radhe, Sandhya
Just one
ji,
hand
please
today?
go.
Okay, maybe, yeah, we can take maybe 1 or 2 hands, or I'll recite maybe a couple of lines if nobody else is there.
Radhe Radhe. So, I guess what I have chosen and I'll try to sing is aligned with today's discussion about divine vacuum. So, there is a saint who is like totally an inspiration for me and I think for all of us, Mirabai. And she had actually demonstrated like creating that divine vacuum and making Krishna come for her every time and anytime when she...
Krishna manifested actually. See, when she was about to give up her life, a blue hand actually pulled her back. So when she had faith, she could see Krishna the way we see each other. And then finally, when she went, away from this earth, her body was not recovered. Only thing that was recovered was a couple of flowers and her sari. She just merged into the deity. So that those possibilities, right? And then she drank poison and Krishna did, made sure nothing happens to her. Who all can survive after drinking poison? She did. Yes, go ahead.
Right. So, of course, I do not understand what she used to feel far away from me, but I will just try to sing this bhajan. So, yeah. प्रेम बिना पावे नहीं, मन हुनर करे हजार, कहे प्रीतम प्रेम बिना, मिले नहीं नंद कुमार। हरि व्यापक सर्वत्र समाना, प्रेम ते प्रगटे होई मैं जाना। ना मैं जानू आरती वंदन, ना पूजा कीरी, मैं अनजानी दरस दीवानी, पागल मेरी प्रीत। लिएरी मैंने दो नैनों के, दीपक लिए संजोए। हेरी मैं तो प्रेम दीवानी, मेरो दर्द न जाने को। घायल की गति घायल जाने, जो कोई घायल हो। जोहरी की गति जोहरी जाने, जो कोई जोहरी हो। लिएरी मैंने दो नैनों के, दीपक लिए संजोए। हेरी मैं तो प्रेम दीवानी, मेरो दर्द न जाने कोई। सूली ऊपर सेज हमारी, सोमन किस विधि हो। गगन मंडल पर सेज पिया की, मिलना किस विधि हो। लिएरी मैंने दो नैनों के, दीपक लिए संजोए। हेरी मैं तो प्रेम दीवानी, मेरो दर्द न जाने कोई। That's it.
Very nice. It's a Meera bhajan. Where did you get it from?
Searched for it. It was part of a movie which I'm going to watch now. Meera movie. I mean, I think it was originally motivated from somewhere else, but this Meera movie of Hema Malini, an old movie, I came across that today through this bhajan, and I am like, that's now in my wish list.
Oh, it's a very nice movie. I think I'd seen it long back, but yeah, this something Hema Malini in her interview said this is very close to her heart, this movie. I think she had a profound impact after playing a role in this movie for a long time. Even now, I guess she does shows and does a lot of shows for Krishna even now. But very nice. Thank you for bringing it to the session. Very nice. Very soulful. Thank you, Sandhya, for that. Pratyusha, are you going to sing as well? Go ahead. You're going to
Radhe, Pratyusha ji,
you're
please.
going to make your
Radhe.
debut today. Go ahead.
Actually, I don't know much songs, so some like very one or two I know. So this Meera Bai from Payoji Maine.
Okay, Mirabai is.
Payoji.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
पायोजी मैंने राम रतन धन पायो, पायोजी मैंने राम रतन धन पायो। वस्तु अमौलिक दे मेरा सतगुरु, वस्तु अमौलिक करो कृपा करे अपनायो पायो जी मैंने राम रतन धन पायो जी मैंने जन्म जन्म की मुझे पाई जन्म जन्म की मुझे पाई जग में सभी पायो जी मैंने राम रतन धन पायो कर्ज न खोटे और न लौटे खर्च न खोटे और न लौटे दिन दिन बढ़त सवायो पायो जी मैंने राम रतन धन पायो सत के नाम केवटिया सतगुरु सत के नाम केवटिया सतगुरु बस सागर तर आयो जी मैंने भव सागर तर पायो जी मैंने राम रतन धन पायो मीरा के प्रभु मीरा के प्रभु मीरा के प्रभु जस गाओ आयो जी मैंने रख जस गायो पायो जी मैंने राम रतन धन पायो.
Very nice, Pratyusha. You sing well. Okay, so we discovered a talent today. We should sing more often. You sang really well and very beautifully you sang. Your voice was trailing in between. You may want to check your audio, but you were really well. I think a lot of acknowledgement for the beautiful singing that you did. So wonderful job, Pratyusha. Great. Are we good then? Maybe I can sing a couple of lines, recite a couple of lines, and then we can wrap it up. I think we are already on time, more than time today. तुम मेरे थे मेरे हो मेरे रहोगे बहकूना अब बहकाने से जब समझ प्रेम में डूब गई तब क्या होगा समझाने से तुमको ही तन मन धन अर्पण तुम ही हुक मेरे जीवन धन अब और अधिक चमकेगा सोना पुनि पुनि अग्नि तपाने से तुम मेरे थे मेरे हो मेरे रहोगे बहकून अब बहकाने से. Okay, thank you everyone for a wonderful session. Tomorrow we meet at Kahoot and we have a wonderful presentation coming on from Selfless Team. So we are all excited. Shyamji, all the very best. Do you want to give a quick speech on what we can expect tomorrow?
भाई राधे राधे. अब मैं क्या बोलूं, जो होगा कल देखा जाएगा. बट इसमें सारा जो हमने इस बार जो काम किया है 3 लोगों ने किया है, शेफाली, ज्योति एंड पल्लवी जी. इस बार आई वाज इन द बैक सीट. In fact, I had no seat this time because I was the least one interested in doing this for a change. But these 3 people have really made it happen with Vanna ji, of course. And let's see they do it. What we can do the best for us, and I'm sure we all will love it. Since Janmashtami has gone by, so we are again gearing up for next year. So I think we'll do a good job. Let's see how it goes. Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
All the very best. We are very excited to see the presentation, Janmashtami presentation tomorrow. So thank you so much in advance, and all the best for the Kahoot for tomorrow, everyone. Yes, Sandhya, you wanted to say something?
Nitinji, I just realized in one team, selfless team, we have 2 co-hosts of DWFBG session.
Oh my God.
And, and one more thing.
Happy realization, Sandhya.
I can see both of you at the same place in my screen also. So one more thing. So we can also announce that people who wants to join any of the Seva teams, they can fill in the feedback tracker. Especially I see Pratyusha ji also recently, she has joined our classes, and if she's interested in joining the Seva team, it would be great to have you. So please feel free to fill in the feedback tracker and provide your information. Thank you.
Okay, so there are some interesting characters here with different names. Okay, by the way, it's the same person. I want to announce that. First, that person would come as K.R. Ramesh Babu, then Prachi. So we've got some naughty people out here. You can just ignore that, okay? And this person will keep coming with different names throughout the sessions. And I may choose to announce that as well, but please ignore if you get, especially if you get some abusive messages and stuff, please do ignore that, okay? I think we have better things to focus on. Okay, yes, Shyamji, you wanted to say something?
जीतन भाई, तो मैं फील एट सेवा भाव कहीं जा रहा है मेरे से या हमारे से, तो इसके लिए क्या किया जाए? एंड जैसे अभी आपने मेंशन किया ना कि द ट्रेजर चेस्ट which we have, see some people see it empty because since there is nothing inside to see it. It's how we see things, how we perceive things. So some can see Satchidanand, some can't see. So how to see, how to perceive things as they are, or as I am, or as it should be, or it has to be?
Sorry, I confused. In what context, basically?
One thing was that Seva Bhav is going haywire, and the second thing, when you mentioned that treasure chest.
So let's break it down. First, you're saying Seva Bhav is going haywire, right?
Yeah.
And then go to the fundamental part of what is going haywire, why it is going haywire. Is it like no more interest is there, the inspiration is going away, or you don't find value in it, or you're not seeing any benefit from it? There must be some reason, right? What's the reason behind it?
I know it has a value. I know it interests me, but I do not know, something is lacking. I am not able to figure out what's
maybe
missing.
Intellectually you're not convinced that it actually adds value, or it is actually contributing to Krishna's cause, right? Intellectually you're not convinced. If Krishna comes and tells you in person, then you will say, oh my God, really? That is what it meant, right? So that intellectual conviction is not there. That is probably making it chalta hai, or maybe kiya nahi kiya, or so that contemplation is probably not sunk in. That's the only reason I can think of. Otherwise, seva is like people, I've seen people who do seva and shed tears that this has come my way, right? That is also a bhav. They cried while doing seva because it's like an opportunity. And Maharaj Ji, what he used to say? Swamiji was telling one day, okay, he said that the seva that, he created pracharaks, right? So he said for this seva, there is a line in Golok. Even Golok also, there are sevas created. So there is a line in Golok where people line up, queue up to do the seva for Krishna. And we are not even having an adhikarita and getting that opportunity indirectly, in our own little ways. So we are not thought about it, the significance of it, and how it contributes to the big picture towards our spiritual journey and otherwise. So it's a lack of contemplation, I would say, why it would go. When you truly value something, you will not lose intensity. It's the value that we have not really thought about. That's when it will dip. That's how at least I see it.
Maybe you're right in a way, but I don't see that way. I know everything. See the value, the benefit, Krishna consciousness, everything.
आप जानते हैं, मानते नहीं हैं. That is a difference.
Maybe I'll just.
अभी मैं बोलूं, श्याम जी, आप सेवा करेंगे तो आपको 10-10 करोड़ आते रहेंगे आपके बैंक में. आप देखो सेवा में कैसे एंथुसियाज्म आएगा. नहीं आएगा कुछ और.
I am
Something
beyond
that
that.
you value, tell me.
Trust me,
Banke
I'm beyond
Bihari
that
ji,
now.
Banke Bihari ji will come in front of you, meet you. Tab aayega enthusiasm.
That makes sense.
Something that you value, which you see tangible, not about money or anything. Something tangible that you see here, the tangible thing will come at the end, right? God will first test you out, check your nishkamta, and then he will manifest. And this is an opportunity to build that nishkamta. Seva is the biggest opportunity to build because you're not getting anything immediate in return, right? You're just doing it. So ये वाला part है, आप convince करना पड़ेगा. That is the only way, no other way. और कई बार when it is forced upon, then it becomes your what you call that non-negotiable part of your routine. Like Swamiji, I feel very fortunate that he made it as a non-negotiable. He actually gave this seva. Now it has become a non-negotiable part of my routine. Would I have taken that initiative all by myself? I don't know. But sometimes when it is given to you, you are in that position. Then only after a few years, and you realize how fortunate I am. At that moment, it was a lot of pressure, facing people, preparing for Bhagavad Gita, getting prepared. I was like, how am I going to survive? For 2 days preparation I would do and somehow sail through. But now it is like that's the best thing that happened. So we have to persist for a while to see the benefits of seva. Initially, your mind will rebel. Oh, take it easy, too much of pressure. But that is where I think we have to create that internal inspiration around it. It'll happen, Shamni. You continue with us, it'll happen. That is why we created seva teams. Okay, so just be patient around it. We'll make it happen.
Leader, best part.
We'll make it happen. We'll make it happen for you. And let's have Pratyusha also in one of the seva teams. Okay, Pratyusha, if you have time. You have a lot of potential. We have already seen that. We have already got recruiters there. Okay, we'll talk more about it. I think it's late. Pallavi, it will be late for you
Thank
as
you so
well.
much.
So let's wrap up today's session. We'll meet tomorrow in Kahoot. Okay. Radhe Radhe. Good night. Good day from my side. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Stay blessed. Have a great day.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nitinji. Thank you.